What's up, guys? It's been a while.
It has. Michael, you haven't shown up in the last few videos. What's going on?
I'm moving, and everyone's moving.
Yeah.
The world's moving. If you saw more of this place, you would see it's empty. So
yeah, there's not much left here, but don't worry, we're gonna have a new place to record. Some of it might have to be over the interwebs. I don't know.
The World Wide Web.
Yes, but we're here to talk about something exciting in person, which I'm glad we're able to do in person because I feel like something like this, I don't know, it's just more cherishing when you get to do it in live time. So we are here to talk about Volume 17. I can't believe we've gone this far without seeing the description of the book, because I think it's supposed to come out September 6th, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think
right after this video, yeah.
Yeah, so basically by the time it uploads, it's going to be the following day. Hopefully not, but yeah, so we're here to talk a little bit about it, see what we got. I guess we're going to just start with the cover of...
So obviously it's in front of your guys right now. Yeah. So it's Belle...
It's Belle and then the two elves from Freya Familia. Hagni and Hidney? I think that's...
Something like that.
Yeah, with translation things.
I was reading ahead. But yes, I like the color scheme, and it's interesting that they chose those two characters along with Belle. So maybe that plays into the novel a little bit. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what standing Belle's going to have with Hidney, since he had him as his master for the last volume. But do you want to read off the description, Michael?
Sure. Heaven hath no fury like a goddess scorned. Freya has made up her mind. We knew that from the last book. Yeah. She'll stop at nothing to get what she's always been searching for, even if it means abandoning her appearances and pride. Wow. Before long, Belle is caught squarely in her sandbox and leaving him alone with no way out. In a world where he has no one to depend on, will Belle be forced to give in and do as the goddess of beauty desires once and for all? Huh. All right.
So there wasn't... I figured we were either going to get like a vague description, or we were going to get like a misdirection, kind of like what we got for... what was it? Was it the last volume, or was it the volume 15? No,
yeah, there was some,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so... I don't know, where do you want to go with...
Well, something to notice just from that, it's 350 pages. That's longer than, I think, normal.
Yeah, that feels like a good...
It feels like a third longer than normal.
I think we probably haven't gotten a book length like that since 14, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So, we were actually kind of talking about this a little bit beforehand, some theories about where he would go. It does look like it's more Belle focused than I thought it would be. I thought there'd be some interchange between Freya and the Loki Familia, but it looks like it's going to be centered around Belle. It is interesting. Yeah, it's still vague enough that you don't really know what's going to happen. Like, play in her sandbox? What does that mean? Maybe... Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I feel like that... You know what? I feel like just reading too much into it, it kind of gives me like callback vibes to the Freya Familia side series, or the side novel that we got, because, they were set in like the desert. But I think this just means that like she's going to be in charge of this whole thing that goes on. I mean, Belle's not going to have many options. I think maybe since they don't really mention the Hestia Familia that much, I think that's probably safe to bet that, they're not going to be able to help out much in this. I mean, that's probably a given, since, they're not nearly as strong as Belle is level-wise. But I think maybe the most pressing information that we got out of this was that it says, always been searching for, even if it means abandoning her appearances and pride. Because this was something, too, that me and Michael were talking about, of like, okay, to like what extent will like Freya be sacrificing things in order to pursue this? And I think this is something if it goes in the direction of like Freya's not like worried about what she's going to lose in order to get Belle, then this might be losing a lot of face with the city. Because in the previous volumes, when we've seen Freya Familia shake up the board in Orario, it's always been kind of like in the shadows. Like, maybe some characters know that they are the ones behind it, but for the most part, it's been kind of clouded in the mystery in the public eye. So I think if that's a change of pace, or at least that's what it's alluding to from the description, that will be interesting to see how that plays out within the world.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. There were some... We had some discussions about what she was willing to do, and we kind of figured that she would be willing to give up her reputation in the city in order to do what she wants to do, or be perceived as the bad god, even if that doesn't really matter to her at this point, I assume. What's interesting is I feel like she won't offer him... because in the Freya side story, they're always offered something in exchange.
Right.
And it feels like I don't know what she can offer Belle besides maybe, I mean, she could do something like power or like make sure your familia is safe / threatening him. But there's not much he could agree to. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, it's not really a choice. It's more of an ultimatum, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be coming
and
up.
To be fair, she's given basically ultimatums to people in the past as well. So it's not like new ground necessarily.
I think one of the things that or at least, I don't know when it came up when we were talking about it, but one of the things I kind of thought about going into this volume, because I just recently reread volume 16, and I felt like I got kind of an extra idea after I finished rereading that, and that was, I think it's in the end of the last chapter. I don't think it's in the extra chapter, but it's the last scene where we get to see like Freya, and she's like transforming from the seer form back to her goddess form, and she's talking to Otter, and she's like, snatch that child away. It made me wonder, like, because we kind of saw a little bit of like the rundown that Freya was going through when she was rejected as seer by Belle, and kind of knowing like the reasonings of why he like turned her down, or at least what was the other object that was in his vision that led him to declining seer's advances. The idea just came up to my mind. I was like, what if the person that she wants to take out or like capture to take out of the situation is Eyes, because we know that Eyes is a big fascination with Belle because it's like triggered all of the abilities and stuff like that. His drive to become a
so
adventurer.
What I was going to say with that, and that's theory, I don't think it's going here in this book, but I think as far as I know, and we haven't read every side story and all the material, but as far as I know, Freya doesn't know that Eyes is Belle's, she doesn't know what's written on his back fully. So that could be something that she finds out over the course of this. Like, she looks at basically his abilities, and then at that point in the next book, she gives up and targets Eyes afterwards. So like, he gives them that ultimatum. It doesn't work out. She asks why, and then she turns her attention to the Loki Familia. Because in this book, there's no mention of a Loki Familia, which is fine, but I do feel like they have to do something with them that's not contrived, whereas, they're just going to all help Belle because that's what they need to do, otherwise the Hesse Familia has no chance, which is true, they have no chance. Another thing that's interesting is I wonder if it'll be the whole Familia, Freya Familia, or just the two elves that kind of play the role in this, and then their other Familias doing other stuff. Because they really don't need their whole Familia against Hestia Familia.
I mean, because I feel like it said in volume 16 when Belle and Seer were actually able to elude the parts of Freya Familiar that were watching them during the Goddess Festival, that they were really only able to do that because one, Hedney was helping them divert the other forces, and two, it was the lower tier adventurers in Freya Familiar. I think it was people Belle's level or a little bit lower than him. So that was probably another reason to that, because I mean, just seeing the little bit that the little, I don't even know if you want to call it a battle per se, because it wasn't really a battle, but just the little bit of scuffle Belle had with Hedney. It's it clearly gets the point across that Belle would have had zero chance if it wasn't for Hedney purposely under the restrictions of Freya's orders of not wanting to harm him or not.
Yeah, I think this is probably a clear catalyst that he needs to be level 5 at the end of this book. So there'll probably be some major fight that makes him level up, and then at that point I'm okay with Belle being able to fight everyone besides Otter when he's level 5. That's fine. That would be fine for balance. One-on-one. I'm not talking him versus 8 people, but I'm talking one-on-one where he can, he can fight with level 6. Obviously he's still at a disadvantage, but he can at least run away. But right now at his level, even he's super fast, and obviously at the latter half of level 4, it's not feasible for him to be able to do anything against the level 6 people. He does have some like invisibility and other skills that can help, but not fighting.
It's just interesting to me though, because Freya doesn't seem like the type of person to be like, oh, I'm just gonna let this one child of mine take care of this thing for me. It seems like she would just like throw everybody. You know?
Yeah,
or everybody would jump at the chance.
I agree with that. I just think it's not necessary. I mean, maybe if Loki Familia was involved somehow, and that's the real, not really. Okay, so we love this series. It's not like a real concern that I'd like abandon the series if this happens, but like we talked about previously, I don't want Loki Familia to just be in this because like Eyes convinces him to help. Because there were so many times where she couldn't earlier on, and it just wouldn't it'd feel very like unnatural to me if they're just like helping Belle all of a sudden when they didn't care.
Yeah, well, and it's also the thing too of like, you know, I feel like there needs to be something else besides Belle just coming to Eyes and asking her for his help, because I said that weird, but you get what I'm saying. Because you know, like, I think they've kind of backpedaled it before, which is something that's like fine if they want to do that, they can do that, but it doesn't leave a really good taste in my mouth. But I feel like after the Zeno arc with the little bit of time where, you know, Belle and Eyes were at odds with one another, at least you know, in ideals, I think it's weird to just have, you know, Eyes help him without you know, any kind of issue whatsoever. So that's something I think they're going to have to justify if they do bring them in as the main fold. I think more so though, like, I think in terms of it making sense in the story, Loki Familia is one of the only other group of characters that I think makes sense when you're talking about Freya Familia being like the next like thing that Belle has to go up against, just because power-wise, they're the only other people in the city that Belle has slight connections to that just makes sense for that to work. Whereas I feel like, though, me personally, I think a more interesting dynamic is bringing in some of the other characters that maybe not necessarily have had the most time to shine or the most time to connect with Belle, but because there's kind of a commonality in like what they're striving for or the people that they are each connected to, kind of like a mutual friend in the sense, and that would be the benevolent mistress, like waitresses. You know, I feel like it's, to me at least, when I was rereading Volume 16, I feel like they don't have to do this, but it would be really cool if we did get kind of like a rematch of sorts with these characters going up against some of the Freya Familia. Now, right now, they can't really do that ideally, though, because they're not as strong. But I feel like a lot of those characters, they have been adventuring for a while, and they haven't been under any god's, what is it, like the Falna or whatever?
Yeah, Falna, yeah.
So, like, they can't really level up. So that's probably, like, if they did get underneath another god, they could probably level up right away. So, like, you know, Liu, Chloe, like, Rona, like, all those other characters, like, I think it would be really cool if they were brought in a way to help with this situation, but I don't know if that still is enough, even if you did, like, throw out a card like, oh, they're all level 5 now, like,
yeah,
you know, because all of the characters that we've seen in Freya that, I mean, they're level 6 and 7, but also they don't just have those 6, they have a whole other, like, we don't even know how many followers Freya Familia has. I would assume they're probably the second biggest Familia, or third biggest Familia.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but yeah, you're probably right. I was just gonna say that does bring up so we're talking about Belle leveling up, but if he does, it still brings up the problem of having Belle being too high level in comparison to the rest of the Familia. So you would have to get them leveling up too, as well, because he can't be level 5 when the other people level 2. That's just it just doesn't work. But secondarily, so just some theories here, some things to throw out. I think Belle could be thrown out of the city at the end of this book, or find himself out of the city where he could do a time skip. Another thing that I was thinking about is I think that if Hestia believed that Freya's crossed the line, she could use her god powers and get expelled from the city to try to save Belle at the end of this. So that is one force that could be used. I mean, we don't even know what Hestia's powers are really, besides she gets colorful. I'm sure maybe in the books, the first volumes, it talks more about that. But yeah, we don't know.
I definitely think whatever does happen, there needs to be a change in like the foundation of the world. So like either that is like the city, like if we stay in the city of Orario is like definitely the place that like we're only going to be for the focus of the mainline series, then like okay, like we need something to shake up in the city. I think if the author wants to expand and play around in the world like outside of Orario, I think this would be a really good time to do something like Michael said, you know, where they can be out in the city. The other plot thread that we have is Liu's ex-goddess, we know is still alive and is somewhere outside of Orario. So that'd be a cool thing to see. Maybe if they are outside of Orario for, you know, a whole arc before they come back to Orario, then maybe we can have a little side thing with that. That would also lead to, you know, them still being able to level up if, like, for some reason something happens to Hestia, or if their Familia is separated. Like, let's say Belle gets stuck out of the city, but the rest of Hestia Familia is, you know, hiding out in their... I don't think it would make sense for them to stay in their manor. Like, I feel like that's just asking to have a target on your back. The other thing that I thought is, like, you know, they could always retreat to the dungeon and just hide out in the dungeon. I think we've seen that before through some of the other characters. But the only thing is, it's like we're right, like we just got off of like a huge like dungeon arc, so I don't know if that's really putting us too much in the dungeon. But not only that, but as much as I think it would be cool, the Hestia Familia hiding out with the Xenos and having, you know, maybe a small little side thing with the Xenos, it's something that's just like, it feels almost too early to go back to those characters.
Yeah, one thing that we don't really know, because there's been some exploration of the world outside of the city. Obviously, we know the dragon's out there somewhere, and is very strong. But we don't know if there's enough monsters that are higher level to help them level up. I mean, there probably are. We've seen monsters. We've seen that in the one
Arrow
movie,
of Orion.
Arrow of Orion. Yeah, we've seen that in the movie. There are some monsters. But it's not really, as far as what we know around the city, like a level 2 and a level 3 adventurer are like really strong in comparison to like the normal person out there. So it'll be weird to kind of balance that out. But I don't know. I'd probably prefer being out of the city than being just in the dungeon, because we've just been in there so long, and it feels like, I don't know. How do you feel about a time skip? Do you want a time skip or not?
See, that's the thing. I think it would be... It doesn't really matter for Belle, right? I think the biggest thing with the time skip is how do you... There's a lot of benefits to a time skip. I think it would... I guess I can start with that. You know, it does let the other characters in the Familia have time to reasonably and believably, you know, get a little bit stronger to the point where, like, when they come back, they can maybe face some more foes, or at least, you know, have a little bit more of a fighting chance if they want to save, like, the actual, like, brunt of the confrontation with Freya Familia. But I think the downside is like, you need to do something where, like you said, it lets an opportunity for the other characters have a chance to grow, but not necessarily, you know, make it to where it's like, well, okay, like let's say there's like a 6 month or like a 3 month like time skip. These two characters leveled up, but like how come Belle didn't level up like twice in this time? Because I think like canonically we're like only 6 months.
Yeah, 9 months.
Yeah,
maybe
so like
a year.
Yeah,
if you're real generous.
And and it's like even then it's like, well, if they only time skipped like, let's say they time skipped like 2.5 weeks, it's like, okay, well, what does that do for the other characters? Like at that point, is it even necessary? So I don't know. Like I think personally it'd be cool to see a time skip, but I think there's some things that would have to be like, you know, conditions in order for that to make sense.
Yeah, you either have Belle going out in the world where he can't earn XP, which that would but you know what I mean. I mean, it's a video game. So that, or you could have an interesting storyline where Bell gets, maybe he levels up to level 5, but he can't get above level 5. He has some like level cap that he's got to figure it out. They've done that in the past where he had to have 1 or 2 experiences before he could level up. So they could do that again. I hope they don't do that for level 4 to 5 because he needs to be level 5 to deal with a lot of these characters. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't see. I will say this. I think a hard prediction here, but I feel like there's no way Freya's gonna Freya as a piece on the board is not going to be resolved by the end of this book. There's just no way. I feel like there might be some shakeups within Freya Familia that maybe we won't see coming, but I feel like it just feels too early to have like Freya like done by the end of this volume. I feel like she's been around since the beginning, and she's always been that like, you know, that character that they've been waiting to actually get to. And I feel like last volume they just kind of gave you like a payoff of just like, you know, showing you like, okay, what this character like is really going after and like how much it means to them. But I feel like there's just so much that they still need to do before it's resolved. But I will say the one thing I don't think we touched on, and I think I might have posed this to you, or at least talked about like my stance on it, but do you think there's any possibility that we'll see like any more, I guess you'd call them deserters, traitors, like Horn from last volume out of the Freya Familia?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this. It's I think it's the author has left quite a bit of room on how those characters are going to act, or if there'll be more betrayals, because you really don't know. Like, for example, we don't read the books, but like I'm sure with all he's done with Sword of Oratorio, one of the challenges is making sure that those characters who are more nuanced, I hope, in those books, or at least they're put in a box where you have to operate within that box.
Yeah.
If you have that many books. With the Freya Familia, you don't have that many side story books where you get a backstory and you kind of understand their motivations, and it was it was good to get that, but their actions are still kind of unpredictable. So it could be the case. Again, you know, is one elf going to help Belle even in this situation? Probably not. Just because that's not how the Freya Familia has ever worked.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting because Hedney in a way like did slightly. I wouldn't say like, you know, as much as other characters in the series, but I feel like he's gotten like a tiny sliver that even himself admitted to, like, oh, I kind of see where Freya started to like him. You know, he's seen like enough of Belle's character where like he even acknowledged it slightly. But as we've seen with like all of her like elite members, they're borderline fanatics, if not like full-on fanatics. So I just don't think it's enough to really sway it. I feel like, if anything, you know, seeing a situation like Horns where it's like she's only doing this out of devotion to Freya is a more likely reasoning behind it. But I just don't see them doing it so bluntly, you know, and so proactively. I feel like even like when Otter and Hedney helped with Horn's plan, it was more like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything to stop you, but I'm not going to go like, you know, out of my way to openly defy Freya, you know. So I don't know if we're going to see that, but maybe we can get more of something like that in the next one.
Yeah, they can't. That's a way they can keep the Loki Familia out of it if there is some internal conflict. Real question though. This is a prediction. So obviously we've had the description on screen, but it says, you know, before long that Belle is caught. Do you think they're going to do something where he's caught in the dungeon? But I think the cooler thing that they could do is Freya just waltz into their mansion and takes Belle. And like they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool, like show of power. And even though she's never done anything like that in the past, it's always been in the dark. I think that would be interesting instead of him just like going to the dungeon and then like getting taken like that. We've had that happen many times in the past, or he gets lost in the dungeon. I think it'd be cool if something actually happened in the city.
Yeah, I think that would be badass. Because I mean, like, you're right. Like, what would they do? Like, if she was walking toe in toe with Otter, like, dude, he's the strongest adventurer. There's no like, even if Eyes was right there in Hearthstone Manor, there's nothing that none of them could do. You know. Plus, I feel like, again, like, circling back to just briefly about the Eyes thing, like, I feel like even though she has a fondness for Belle, I don't think that she's dumb enough to be like, you know, I got to put my familia first. So I don't think that she would even like, you know, openly be able to help in that situation. But I think it would be cool though if Freya just walks in and just like, yo, this is mine. Now,
yeah.
yoink.
So, yeah.
But I think it would be. You need something like that though, because like you said, we have seen them, you know, kind of get ambushed in the dungeon before. We have seen Apollo Familia go to like their old place that they used to live and just completely annihilate it. And I don't feel like Freya Familia has to do either of those things, really. I mean, if it leads to the dungeon, so be it. I think another cool way to do it is, you know, there's so many people connected to the Benevolent Mistress that I don't feel like they even know the full scope of... Because, like, Liu, she doesn't know that Cyr is Freya. But we clearly know that Freya has some fondness for her outside of just being Cyr, because I think she, like... That was the whole reason why, like, they didn't, like, outright just, like, kill her when she stood against them, right? Because they were specifically told not to harm her. Because Freya had said something to the effect of, you know, she's like Belle, and that... You know, she didn't want them hurt. But, you know, I think it'd be cool if, like, some part of the city that we've had since the beginning, that's a central part of, like, making, like, what propels the story forward on multiple occasions, just gets, like, utterly annihilated, you know? And I think, like, I don't know how well you'd be able to justify the Benevolent Mistress being destroyed. But because, you know, Mamma Mia's there, and like I don't think she would probably openly defy Freya. But and the guild's like something too, right? Where it's like the guilds never, like, they definitely like find people, but we've never seen them like fully be like, no, we're like gonna arrest you, kind of a deal. And like why could they, or like how could they? But again, like, Freya Familia has also been, like, totally chill, been like, yeah, we'll pay the fine, whatever. Like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Just pay.
Yeah,
it's like a current day politician.
Yeah, anyway. So, two other things. I have a lot of things. So, this is not about this book. This is just about the future. We're talking about how I think it would be very interesting in order to establish that Freya is a very serious villain if they want to go that route, which it looks like they do. That she either kills or injures, maims someone in the Loki Familia. Hopefully not in the main cast, just because we like them so much and I don't want to see one of them maimed and or killed. But I could see that happening. I think this book has to be the book, though. I think it was book 13 or 14, one of them in the Xeno arc, where it's seeing the power of the Loki Familia, and it's like, okay, the guild can't help. We need to have a moment in the book, whether it be the entrance where they take Belle, or later on where it's like, okay, Belle can't do anything, Hestia can't do anything, the guild can't do anything, Loki Familia really can't do anything either. You know, a moment like that, and then obviously Belle has to talk his way and or reason his way out of this, and or make a deal with Freya, but that doesn't usually end up well.
Yeah. Now, you know, the chances of this happening are so slim, but we could get it. There's a chance we could get it. Now, do you remember in the side novel for Freya?
Is this gambling related?
Yes.
Okay, I know where you're going. Continue.
And she was like, I can't remember what the circumstance was because it's been a little bit, but basically, you know, there was a high stakes thing of like a pivotal point of the book, and it all hinged on this game that that character played with Freya. And we also have another point where Belle has been in a casino and won because his luck skill has been...
Because he's part god.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
And it's just...
We don't know that.
Yeah, but like his luck skill's so high that it just helped him win, and people were like, "Oh, you're like cheating or whatever." So could we see a gambling scenario of like a game?
It would be a little overplayed. It wouldn't be overplayed for the people who haven't seen all that side stuff, because actually both of those are inside.
Yeah, that is true.
But I don't know. I mean, it'd be fun. Like they have to do something. Or they could do some sort of deadline where, like, hey, I'll join your familia if I can't get to level 6 in a year or something like that. They could do some sort of ultimatum.
Yeah. Or, you know, I wouldn't put it past, just because Freya seems to do interesting things, but what if she was like, and I don't even know, because I feel like this is almost a similar kind of circumstance to what she tried with Freya on the date, and she seemed very clear to like not be about that approach anymore at the end of that book. But do you think we could see something of like he says, like, you know, kind of similar to what you said of like, I'll stay in your familia a year because she like wants to fall in love, or she wants him to fall in love with her, and he's like, that's fine because all I need was a year to like make you mine or whatever, you know, like. But then again, it's like, okay, let's say that does happen, and that time passes, and he still doesn't do it because he has that skill, right? And she's just like, well, like, what are you gonna do? Leave? Like, I'm not gonna let you leave.
So,
you know?
yeah,
because like she doesn't need Belle as like a fighter. Like she has so many other like great fighters. She really like just wants him for, you know,
he's got that white soul.
Yeah, to be her honor. So.
That clear soul, I think. But yeah, obviously no one. Well, maybe she somewhat recognizes his potential, but I guess there's no implicit need to need him as a fighter.
I guess that is true. I guess I did forget about the whole instance of, you know, there has been multiple times where she's like helped him out to see what he becomes. So I don't know, maybe that is part of like her desire. So maybe saying that she wouldn't use him as a fighter isn't necessarily a full truth. Maybe she would still let him go into the dungeon to get stronger just to see what that potential could be. But I don't know if, you know, she would let him be like freely going around the city.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with Belle being separated from his familia for a period of time. I don't know if I'm okay with him joining a familia. I don't know. Maybe he would have to give up adventuring and leave the city. And that's his option. He either leaves or joins, and he decides to leave.
The fact that he just leaves the city and finds that his grandfather's still alive.
Comes back.
Man.
Then he probably has to like tear his back open to get rid of but then his grandpa just hooks him up.
Yeah.
What a glorious return that would be. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that this volume can go. I think more so this is going to be a volume that shapes where the series is going to go for the foreseeable future, probably. Because, like I said, I don't see Freya being fully dealt with by the end of this volume, but I do think that there's going to be, like, Belle's going to be in a position by the end of this volume that will, because we don't really know if, like, because technically volume, like the last volume, is that in this, like, the same arc? I guess it technically is, right? So we don't know if this is going to be like a 2-book arc or if they're going to go for 3 again. But
yeah, I mean, they don't really. You don't have to have multi-book arcs, which they didn't have in the beginning for the most part. So it's not known.
Yeah, I don't like to say that it's connected as like an arc in the sense, but I mean, I guess like
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's a lot more interesting if Belle gets to level 5 at some point, and then he gets level boost, and then he has to face Otter and has to run away. You know, like that would be, you know, like he levels up, he gets another level boost. He thinks he's ready to take on. He can take on some of them, but he can't take on Otter.
Man, that's the thing too. Is like how many, like, I think it's safe to assume that like a level 5 could face a level 6 1v1 and still find a way to potentially win. Because, I mean, that's what Belle's done for almost all of his fights. But at the same time, I don't know, man. Some of them have, like, magic that's just insane. And we don't even know, like, what all of their magic... Like, we don't know what Otter's magic does. So... But I agree. I feel like having Otter be, like, you know, somebody Belle's going to go toe-to-toe with in this volume is not happening. I don't even know what instance you could have where it is that. Now, I will say, though, I think what would be cool... is not a confrontation against Otter and Belle, but just more time with Otter. I think that would be... I think, like, the biggest thing I want out of this book is I want to fully pull back the curtains of Freya Familia. I feel like we've gotten definitely good sneak peeks of what their Familia is like. I mean, we know kind of, like, how they operate on the daily, you know, where all of them kind of got their start in the Familia. And we know slight... like dealings that Freya's had with other people outside of her Familia, but outside of that, we really don't know like much about like you know, like you said, like the internal dialogue necessarily, like, you know, what they're thinking, like what's like their take of the situation. I mean, we know what they're saying on the outside, but is there more to it than that? I feel like, you know, you look at a character like Alan, right? I mean, like he says, you're like, oh, you know, like it's all or nothing of what the guy says. Like I don't care about anybody else, and he's like, you know, like that typical guy that like just spouts off like, you know, insults to everybody. But we know from the side series that he does still care like about his sister, and he's a little bit more soft-hearted than he comes off. So, you know, I think seeing more of that and reeling more of the back about those characters, I think will be like the biggest thing I want to see. And it seems like if Bell is alone with them, then, you know, maybe we'll have a good opportunity to have that.
Yeah, we'll see. He could always, you know, be held prisoner and then escape into the dungeon, but I doubt they would let that happen, nor is it feasible, but who knows? We will see. But yeah, this has been a long video, so I don't want to, you know, go 2 hours here. But I'm excited for what the book has. Any theories that aren't spoilers,
Yeah.
we'd be welcome to post that. We'll be trying to do some more Danmachi content around this date. Again, it will be somewhat difficult. We're moving around. But for sure we'll get this video out and try to do a review at some time on book 17. One of us will do that, or both of us, hopefully. But we're really excited for Danmachi. This year has been great. I've watched a little bit of the 4th season. Is it 4th season?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's hard. I know, it's hard to keep track because they go over the book content so fast.
Yeah, so overall, you know, this author's keeps going. I think from what I've seen, you know, it's hard to get transcripts or whatever of all the stuff they're saying, but he seems to be in a lot better place than like the Overlord author as far as continuing the series. I think at one time he said he could do this for a long time. So we'll see. And I really, it's still one of my favorite series. You know, after so many years of reading this, it's been, you know, sometimes you have series that come and go that you still like, but you're not sure if you would start it, you know, at the present time, if you'd like it the same. So like a good example of that would be like some of the first isekai books that I read. You know, I liked them then, but probably now I wouldn't like them as much because I already have experience in the genre. But I think this is a series where some of those big themes about what it means to be a hero, what Bell's journey has been across these books, continues to be meaningful to me and is meaningful for a lot of different people. So it's just been a great series, and I'm excited. I'm confident that this will be a good book, and if it's not, we'll definitely hear from us about it. But I'm excited for what the future holds for Danmachi.
Yeah, I think it's got like it surprised me when I picked up the series, and it's amazed me still that like the track record like has held up, if not like gotten better for a lot of the next installments. So I would be devastated if this book sucked, but you know, like I know not every series is meant to, you know, last forever. No series is meant to last forever, but I'm still looking forward to this one, and I think we haven't quite reached the peak of the series yet. So I'm really looking forward to this and going forward with new content. But like Michael said, we don't want to make this a 2-hour long video, so we better shut up now. But we will be back. Expect the episode by episode reviews to continue on, and we'll try to have some more stuff, more surprises on the way. We'll see when that happens, but you know, it'll be down the pipeline for
eventually, sure. Yeah. And for those of you who are in the know, we don't want the slime ending or approach to how they deal with characters' death and darkness. But this series has already gotten pretty dark, so I have faith. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you watched for this long, that means you really like Danmachi. We appreciate it. We'll have more content out for you shortly. We have so many Danmachi videos you can go and check if you haven't seen all of them.
Yeah, the playlist is getting mighty fat. I think there's over 30 videos. So
enjoy that. If you're interested, there's many different videos about many different topics. If you have some questions for further speculation, please post it below in the comment section. And we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, guys. Peace, addicts.
Later.